Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. So, obviously, after just 1 week of the LEC, right now, Misfits sits atop the standings at 3-0. Now, obviously, I don't think a lot of people expect them to finish the season at the top or really close to the top, but I think they are probably starting to prove that they maybe do belong, maybe that their hot streaks and flashes in the spring were not a fluke, and this team is actually really interesting and really exciting because they have a nice mix of young players with a ton of potential and veterans. So I think this team has a chance to be pretty successful this year. But either way, them starting out 3-0, they're going to get a lot of people talking, they're going to be getting a lot of interviews, and they're going to have a lot of chances to talk. And this interview did come up on Reddit for me. I did see it there, and this is an interview with Esports Maniacos, where Razoark has this quote that says, "I think there are many junglers of the European regional leagues that are better than the ones we have in the LEC," and that sounds pretty spicy to me. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. I'd appreciate it so much. Definitely helps me out the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. With that being said, here we go. So again, Razoark is one of those guys from Misfits, having a very nice start to the season, but obviously between Hyrit and Video, they have some guys that have probably some pretty high ceilings. They have some guys that they hope will continue to keep developing, getting better and better. And so far, you know, Misfits had a solid spring, just barely missed the playoffs. They're having a solid summer. Maybe this time they'll get to the playoffs. Maybe this time they can be scary. Maybe they can be competitive with like the Schalke, Vitality, you know, that level of teams. Fnatic right now. And it'll be interesting to see. But Razoark did give this interview, and some of the key points were highlighted by Alex Nihilist1 on Reddit, so we can kind of go over those. So the first thing that I thought was interesting is what he talks about here, that Razoark thinks Treats is playing better than Bwipo in the jungle, mostly because Treats tries to path correctly and doesn't go for crazy plays like when Bwipo was playing Rumble and he went to lane to ult enemies under tower without getting anything. Now, I thought this was absolutely hilarious. Because for a lot of reasons, when people heard that Bwipo was swapping to jungle and Treats was swapping to jungle, I think the Bwipo news got a lot of better publicity, or whatever the word is, had a lot more positive sentiment. One, because Treats was a very good support last year and was probably the best player on SK, and Treats was doing a role swap for just one split. You know, the SK decision didn't really make any sense. It was a really weird story. But on the Fnatic side, you know, Bwipo wasn't that great in the spring. You know, he was solid. He was middle of the pack, but a guy like Bwipo you do expect to be better, and Fnatic had an actual legitimate player to play in the top lane in Adam. They weren't just putting their coach in the top lane. So people were more kind of willing to see what was going to happen with Bwipo, and you know, if he did well or whatever, because Fnatic had, it seemed like, a better plan going on, where SK was really thrown together at the last minute. But still, Treats is a very good player, as good as Bwipo is and everything. Treats was very good last year. He's probably in better form. So interesting coming from Razoark that he thinks that Treats is overall a better jungler. I thought that was pretty interesting. Also, we'll zoom in on this a little bit. It was kind of small. And then, just as far as, you know, once these moves happened, a lot of people were like, why is Treats going to the jungle? Why is Bwipo going to the jungle? Why did Schalke get Kira? Why are we not looking to new, young, you know, European Regional League talent? What is the point of the European Regional Leagues if we're swapping Bwipo from top to jungle? If we're swapping Treats from support to jungle and then swapping him right back to support next split? What's going on there? And a lot of people are asking, who are some of those next ERL junglers to come up? So I love that Razoark did talk about this too. He says right now he believes Marcoon, and Marcoon is the jungler for BTXL. BTXL was just in the European Masters finals. They did not win, but they made it all the way there. He was looking good. The whole team was looking good. We'll see how well they're able to replicate that into the summer, but Marcoon is definitely on a lot of people's radars. And yeah, pretty good. So I thought it was cool that he called him out there. And then he also says Schlatten are the best junglers in the ERL, and they have better level than some junglers in the LEC. So Schlatten is the jungler for Misfits Premier. Obviously, Razoark plays on Misfits. Maybe he has a little bit of bias there, or maybe he has some really good insider knowledge where he gets to play with this guy a lot and really know how good he is. Now, I believe that Misfits Premier got knocked out in the quarterfinals of European Masters, so, you know, they didn't have as deep of a run or whatever, but that doesn't mean anything bad about him necessarily. Obviously, it is a team game, but I just thought that was interesting to point out. But again, the big part here is that he has better level than some junglers in the LEC. Now, this does not necessarily mean he's calling out Bwipo or calling out Treats or whatever, but it does seem like a shot to some of those guys, because right above, he's saying that Treats is Treats actually tries to path correctly and doesn't go for crazy plays. So he's saying that Whippo doesn't really try to path correctly, goes for crazy plays, and then the very next, the next clip, he's saying that there are some ERL junglers that are better than some of the guys in the LEC right now, and I totally get it. And I think part of why some of these guys didn't get an opportunity is because that these moves were so last minute. SK, Fnatic, I don't really think they had a full grasp of what they even wanted to do or what they were going to do. And then also, the time between spring and summer is really, really crazy. Who knows if these players were available, if these players wanted to leave their European Regional League teams, how much their buyouts were going to be, if Fnatic, SK, any team was willing to pay those buyouts. It is much easier to make these changes and to make these changes well and correctly and have time and have everything, put your full into one of these changes in the real offseason as opposed to that mid-season offseason. So while this does seem really crazy and dumb, and I think there was some bad management, some bad decisions made and stuff, I do get it to an extent. And then Razoark goes on to say that Marcoon did make the right decision when he decided to stay on Academy, because joining a bottom tier team wouldn't be good for the player in the long run. I've heard more and more people saying this. I mean, if you get stuck on a bottom tier team, it can definitely make you look worse, and if you look worse on a bottom tier team, it might be a while before you get another shot, or it might be a while before a mid-tier team gives you a shot. On a bottom-tier team, you got to really, really pop off, where if you get onto a better team, you can maybe have a split or two where you're still learning and growing and stuff. But if you're on a bottom-tier team, if you don't start popping off right away, you're about to just get, lost in all the craziness. He did say that 2 hours, SK's mid laner plays too much for KDA, and the fact that he didn't die playing as Orianna shows that some players were more worried about KDA than playing for the team. So I thought that was hilarious. He's just calling out everybody. One time he's calling out Whippo, now he's calling out 2 hours. Super, super good interview by Razoark here. Obviously, very hilarious, very funny. I love to see the trash talk and everything. After the first super weak jungle power rankings, he thinks Elyoya is the best jungler in the LEC. I've seen a lot of people having Elyoya inspired in Jankos as pretty interchangeable, depending on the week or depending on which team you like or what style you like or whatever. But he's going Elyoya inspired, Jankos himself, and then self-made as the top 5 junglers in the LEC. Kind of interesting there. He says that self-made has been trolling in some solo queue, playing off-meta picks, and he literally said that self-made was troll picking in some games, which is hilarious. Does that mean self-made is going to be bringing out something crazy to the LEC, or does that mean self-made is maybe having some attitude issues, maybe acting up a little bit? And when we talk about self-made potentially going to North America or something next season, a lot of people have said if they benched Alfari, they would bench self-made before he even got off the plane, which I thought was hilarious. He's talking about the new split pushing item, which could see a shift in the meta towards 1-3-1, which I think would be interesting, because obviously it's been a big team fight meta for a while now, with not a lot of split pushing, not a lot of side laning. And then Razoark predictions for the teams that won't make the playoffs. He thinks the bottom 3 teams will be SK, Excel, and Astralis. No hot takes there. I think that's what many people have been saying, but he said he can't decide between the last one, between Schalke and Vitality, so those are kind of his picks there, which I think is pretty funny. But yeah, in the end, he is a pretty good interview where he gives us a lot of insight, a lot of knowledge between the European Regional Leagues, between the LEC junglers, what he's thinking, and again, he's at the top of the top right now. Misfits is 3-0. They're first place in the standings. Razoark is having a hot start to the year. And now he gets a mic and he can start calling people out. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. What do you guys think about the European Regional League junglers and all the junglers right now? Do you think that Fnatic should have got Marcoon, should have got Schlatten, should have went out and looked for somebody else? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!